I already got a text about this in a way. Are they only going to ever show anyone but Kyle Larson on this race? It was like, hey, you're telling me something cool going on, but only showing Kyle. But see, this is when, honestly, I at the end of the day, I feel like this is exposing something that, before we get to the end of this, can be hidden by the high limit racing series. Something that is not going to hinder or slow down or detour the growth of the high limit racing series. But what I think happens there when they're only showing Kyle up front and maybe mentioning this or that is they don't have any real, it seems like, racers on their roster. I mean, I don't know if that's a right way to say it, or close competitive teams within the same wheelhouse. It feels like, I feel like the guy who sent this text is being biased, but when Kyle was out front, I felt like they were trying to show stuff in the middle of the pack. They were trying to show a race. They showed Rico and Sweet, 6 car lengths separated from one another because there wasn't nothing else to show. There wasn't Sheldon coming through the pack and or some superstar you know filler there that had a bad qualifier that's coming through the field. There wasn't, or Donnie or some, there wasn't or Macedo and Selzy mixing it up, or there wasn't any racing going on. And I feel like that, even though some people will say like the Outlaws are, the top heavy group and maybe high limits more in depth throughout the field. I feel like no matter what World Outlaw race are watching, it doesn't single file out as much as I've seen high limit single file out. It does seem like on an typical outlaw race night that there is somebody racing one another. And I don't really feel like that was favoritism to Kyle, what we saw tonight. Because, like I said, I feel like I saw the people or the camera ops or the flow production try to pan through the field and show something, but nothing was happening. There wasn't any guys. I mean, Tanner Holmes, I guess, and Corey Day battling it out somehow. I mean, that's how I feel. I felt like, and I feel like this does happen a lot with high limit, but I think is that gap. Y'all can still say they got the best throughout the field, but I feel like they got 6, 7 guys in the Outlaws that are always going to be racing one another because I think that's a closer knit group of and I hate to agree with Cody on this, but of elite drivers in the sport. I think if you throw a Macedo in there, a gravel to that field tonight, a Macedo, a gravel, a Selzy's, a Hoddenchild, a Shoehart. I'm probably leaving out, I would say shots, but come on, throw a Chevy under the hood and then we could start winning some races. I'm done with the Ford. You're unhappy all the time when I see you. Just get rid of the fucking thing and go back to what worked. Or at least you could get close. Just get rid of the fucking Ford. I'm done even playing with it myself. I hate seeing you sad. I think you'd be happy if you had a Chevy. You'd probably win more. Be happy. It has to suck. It has to suck to be stuck not in a performing position. I don't know if that's contributing to the attitude, but anyway. But I do think that's that gap. I think you would have put those guys in that field, it would have instantly changed the game. It wouldn't have been just Kyle Larson out front and he had to pass Brad Sweet. Brad Sweet, even on his Outlaw Championship years, was known for more his consistency, not his being able to go run down Kyle all the time. When Kyle's on, you need, and that's another thing, the Outlaws. When Kyle's on high limit, you need Brad Sweet to be on his A game. When Kyle Larson's running great against, and he did a hell of a job at Evolution, but I'm just saying, when Kyle in a World Outlaw field though, when Kyle Larson's on his A game and up there going, you need Gravel to be on his A game. Or if he's not, you need Macedo to be on his A game. Or if he's not, you need Hodenshaw to be on his A game. We got, or I said we. Oh God, I'm standing up for the working side. That's my only sympathy to the Outlaws in the World Racing Group right now. Is I do feel like they're the Ace Hardware, and there's tradition, and there is this thing that me being from the dirt world, you can't hide this from me. But I've also been sitting here talking for years about how great the dirt world is, and how amazingly talented our guys are versus the NASCAR entities or these bigger entities where we all in racing know these are fraudulent stars who didn't have to go through equal competition to get to where they are. They just bought their way there most of the time. We know this in dirt track racing, right? But the world around us don't care or know. When you go tell people this stuff and how much it costs and the ages they have to be, blows their fucking mind. You know, so I've experienced or been talking about this world that we know the world of Outlaws is better, but how in the fuck is High Limit slowly going to get bigger than we could have ever been? Like I said, this problem of y'all being soft when it comes to having Kyle in the field for sure is y'all can hide that from the expansion and the growth that you are potentially going to have because you're reaching new people who don't know what dirt track racing is to begin with, period, at all. Most of y'all have never tried to promote this sport. I didn't start talking on this microphone until I put in 2,000 miles within a 30-mile or, 45-mile radius, door to dooring for this sport with everything you need. You must have not went out into the world recently. They do not know what sprint cars are. They don't know what dirt tracks are. Is it a dirt bike? They don't know shit. Now, I've argued over the years that if there's anyone to blame for the world around us not knowing shit about us, it's the world of Outlaws for not properly promoting the sport to the society surrounding. You know. So it's one of these things where I was saying, you know, or in that moment, I'm feeling, you know, if you're going to blame somebody for that lack of understanding of the sport, that would be the only entity. So let's get someone up front who could do it. So when High Limit started coming along, I was like, okay, let's see. I know in 2014 when the World of Outlaws came back to the Devil's Bow Speedway, I believe it was 14. I did the brochures for the fucking event. When the World of Outlaws came to Devil's Bow in 2014, and I'd been doing my weekly promotional shit, right? Sending everything to everybody. I actually got a couple awards for it, for the effort at least. But I sat there and sent out results and little tidbits and all kinds of shit to local media outlets in the DFW area. Big outlets. Even local outlets. All the regional outlets. Did anybody ever care to call? No, nope, don't give a shit. Right? World of Outlaws come back 2014. This is going to be different. Everything gets sent out. And it was like later that day, somebody called. I believe it was from CBS. Somebody called the track. I'm like, oh shit. Get to tell them. Are y'all having the Outlaws out there this week? And I'm like, yes. And I started describing a little bit. It's going to be a big event. There's all these guys coming. Here's this big thing. Oh, I'm confused, the person said. I said, what do you mean? Well, we thought you were talking about y'all were going to have the Mesquite Outlaws out there. We thought you were the new arena football team. That's what they were calling about. Oh, we don't care about this world out. I've never. I tried to explain. Well, this is what it. Yeah, it sounds entertaining, but yeah, I don't. We don't have time for it. Sorry. So once again, in our little bubble, we have these people who are really big and really important. Even Kyle's small. I mean, he talks about it where he went to Chicago and nobody even knows who the fuck he is. Racing is small. Now, that's the only reason we should think about maybe working together between all the different sectors. It's just all the different sectors want to continue an image. They don't want the best to be thrown in the ring. But I almost smile or laugh when I hear World of Outlaws talk about a brand. The fuck? Now I understand you can go into Mennonite Mountains of PA and into the hippie era of California and into the we ain't got shit else to do but get drunk and eat horrible corn in comparison to Nebraska, Iowa. And you have this big, or Indiana, where, fuck, we ain't even going to talk about the history of that area. Go look that up. Oh my, I don't even want to think about Indiana. Now I'm starting to question my life decisions. We look up history. But besides the original situation, we'll call it, those areas have people that you have a brand in. But when I step outside, bro, you ain't got no brand. Now, you have this history, this lineage, this understanding in the dirt world. I get all that. I get that for sure, 100%. But when you step outside, out of your bubbles, everyone around us is knowing. What is you mean dirt bikes? A sprint car, you mean a Miata? This is fact. That's why I was also very upset with the Kevin Ward Jr. situation and other situations where the only time we hear a phone call is when someone dies. Gets you pretty pissed off, makes you want to speak up about it, especially when you committed your life to making it bigger. But then once again, this is also why I understand that what high limit can hide from the unknowing is possible and capable of succeeding because of the NASCAR example, the elite funders of the racing industry. And then we have our own microcosms version of it in the dirt racing world now with renter rides becoming popular. Luckily, there are still some people who can technically work their way there. That's the ones I like. I was talking to a very famous driver earlier today about a comment a fan made to him about Kyle Larson does XYZ better than you. When me and Kyle have had our feuds, it's like I told the guy on the phone, it's like, well, yeah, but once again, the basic opportunities. Like I say, the NASCAR is falsifying brilliance or a talented roster or a potential better sprint car roster and making them look superior. Not because everyone got to do it. Not because everyone got to try it out. Kyle can drive all these cars because he got to do it, at least. It's not too many other people that get the chance. That's just a base level example. And this driver in particular thought he could be better if he got the opportunities. And I don't know. It's possible. The thing is, it's a question mark. We don't know. People out there act like we know that every driver in the world's tried NASCAR and every other car in the world and can't do the same things. Like, no, that's a question. You don't know that. You think that. You have some damn good evidence with how good Kyle Larson is. He's one of the baddest to ever drive. But still, the basics. People were calling David Gravel a NASCAR failure. He had one NASCAR race in the comments of a video. We're going to get to talking about that. David Gravel had one NASCAR race, started 14th with no laps, went to fucking Michigan in a truck where they're booking it into the corners, buddy. Michigan, you can respect it. But showed up at the track, no practice, got in the truck, qualified 14th. No practice, no happy hour, got in the truck, finished 10th. But David Gravel's a NASCAR failure. What? And I don't think, David's even privileged in his own positions. There's probably a lot of other drivers out there running other classes right now, any classes, could be any actually, with David Gravel or Larson talent. They're just on a subsector. They're stuck in 305s, or somebody better than Ricky Thornton Jr. stuck in an IMCA modified. They just don't have the money to do the same things. There could be some other guys too. It's a microcosm. So that's the examples from the top to the bottom. So back to understanding this whole situation about being able to mask history, facts, stats, all of it, and grow bigger than anything you've ever seen, like a NASCAR has done successfully. I'm giving that example for a reason. Then the brand's not that big. And they're dealing with an uneducated population, just like those NASCAR fans and people who heard of it. But you're a dirt bike. That's why they like Larson and Stewart. I mean, that was they finally got crowds at their tracks. This is the funny thing about using Larson and Stewart to get a crowd at the track. They got Stewart, which was the king of the scenario, bringing fans to the tracks, and it was the greatest thing ever. These tracks finally made money and couldn't believe it. And then you use Larson to do the same in a way. But then it's like, don't y'all understand? Like, they're out there promoting like these guys. They're out there like NASCAR isn't like getting their drivers and pushing them to traditional NASCAR fans all the time. They're pushing. They're not worried about NASCAR's not worried about their streaming. They are, but I mean, I'm going to take a shot real quick. But they're worried about pushing these people out there and making them popular, famous, pushing them to masses of people. I mean, it's really no excuse in the digital age with phones and everything like that. But they're promoting their drivers, and then because they've busted out of the sprint car little bubble, dirt track world, they're able to bring regular people to the track because they become a somebody through the promotional groups at NASCAR. In fact, that's probably the best reason people, or one of the reasons people go to NASCAR is for promotional aspects only. At least they know they'll get promoted over there. But, and I've always just sat back and said, I said this, what was it, 4 years ago, 5 years ago? I was like, the problem with Larson, when the Outlaws are riding his coattails for crowds. Oh, I had an argument with Johnny Gibson about this at Kilgore in the booth. First time I met him. It's pretty sad. Not an argument, I'd say a discussion. But he loved it. He thought Kyle was awesome. He brings fans to the track, and my side of that was, I get he does, but we got to start finding ways to like make these other guys popular. These other guys need to become bigger entities so that you don't have to depend on the cheeseburger. You could eat the salad, work it out, do the stuff right, and get these guys, market them to the public. But it just, that opinion, even saying that on my shows, pissed people off. And that's why I would go after the Larson thing. Y'all are, the fan base of the sport is the problem. That's why it trickles back to psyops and stuff like that, and why the dirt fan thinks that way. Once again, I still feel like Cole Trickle killed the sprint car star, because once again, it's been all about that NASCAR driver and sprint car racing, but we're not going to talk about that today. Regardless, these are facts, reasons that I think High Limit can do some things here because of the faults in the world of Outlaws. And once again, if there's anyone to blame for our sport not being bigger, in particular sprint car racing, it would be the world of Outlaws. They are to blame. If stock car racing is not big, are you going to blame fucking ARCA or something? Or are you going to blame, there isn't even another stock car series to blame. So, I mean, if NASCAR's not expanding and growing, NASCAR's the reason stock car racing is not getting bigger and growing. Same thing with IndyCar. If it doesn't expand and get bigger, it's IndyCar's fault. So in a way, it's a very normal thing for High Limit to come up and do this. Because who knows, maybe there are some investors, I guess, on the flow side that see what I'm talking about. And maybe there's some investors and people in very powerful financial positions in Flow Motorsports and their racing departments, or their new people from the other industries with way more money than all of y'all. And they saw it for the first time and they liked it. Oh, I know. Nobody, this is when I talk about promoting. Oh, well, it doesn't matter if everyone sees it, Chaz. Nobody, you can't force everyone to like. I'm like, look, if we can just get 5% of the population of America to even know what it is or care about it, that's like 16 times more than anyone we could think of right now. Which you can add up the social numbers. It's pretty bad. Y'all wonder why, sprint cars aren't on, cable or something. It takes like 800,000 viewers to get to that point. For like, that's what trucks and stuff do, like 6 to 800K, I believe. So it's like, we can't even touch that. That's like almost the entire watching, I will say, fan base.